Yep, absolutely brilliant here. Bayern Munich against PSG, and Bayern Munich with the advantage, and they went up to Paris. They put on a show, and thanks to Kingsley Coman, they registered a 1-0 victory. Here are the highlights.
For you tonight, Paris Saint-Germain against Bayern Munich. Paris Saint-Germain with the wealth of the whole nation behind them, but no Champions League success. They've gone out at this stage too often. And away we go. Alphonso Davies's way. We're watching in the channel. So Davies for the cross, brilliantly played. Coleman, super goal, straight to the goalkeeper, has to be said. But Bayern Munich lead. Now we've got a double change. Under then for Soler. Into Mbappe, 1-1. Offside. Doesn't count. Big let off for Bayern. And the unbeaten run comes to an end. PSG 0. Bayern Munich 1.
Yeah, he's now called the King on Instagram. The only lowlight for Bayern in that game was the red card shown to Benjamin Pavard, the French fullback, who will obviously miss the second leg due to suspension, and that in and of itself is a massive loss, is it, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, he's leading that defense out over there, but I mean, Bayern Munich has so much quality and so much depth in the squad. I think it's Upamecano that's going to take over his spot, and that
was a challenge that brought him the second yellow card. And it was in the last minute of play too, against Messi. Really silly to have done that.
He's quite lucky or well timed that he did before the penalty box right there. But as mentioned, it is the depth of the Bayern squad that will make this blow a little bit less than what maybe would have done with other teams, because you do bring another player in there with a lot of experience and strength and his own quality. But it's the only change we're going to see even when we look at their lineup in the last match in the Bundesliga. So it's something that they like to hold on to that 11, but they have to make that tweak there today because of the red card.
Yeah, because of the red card. Not since April, Juan Arango. April 2018 have Bayern failed to score at home in the Champions League, and they remain in control of the tightly fought Bundesliga title race thanks to a 2-1 win over Stuttgart on Saturday. So they're coming into this game with some momentum.
Yeah, both teams are coming in with a great deal of momentum. Now, how much momentum does it mean that they're going to need in order to get past their opposition? That's the big question mark. We also have to keep in mind, as you guys mentioned about Pavard not playing, Josip Stanisic is the one that's going to take over at right back, the 22-year-old Croatian international. So it'll be interesting to see the matchups on that side of the pitch. But keep in mind that, of course, no Benjamin Pavard on one side, no Neymar on the other. Which side is going to end up being more affected? Although if you hear people in the PSG camp saying, you know what, right now, the best thing that could have happened, it's crazy to hear that Neymar gets injured, because that's when Messi and Mbappe can end up playing better and associating better. We'll see.
Another young star that we're looking forward to, we're going to discuss Neymar a little bit later on, guys. Another young star we're talking about is Jamal Musiala. He's 20 years old. I think he just turned 20 a couple of weeks ago, in fact. A graduate of the Chelsea Academy, and he went to Bayern Munich and he has excelled there. And I've always said that in terms of giving youngsters a chance, they need the opportunity in order to excel. Brent Sancho, he has that opportunity. He is excelling, and he's Bayern Munich's top scorer this season. What an impressive season he's had so far, Musiala.
Yeah, it's coming off a very good World Cup. And easily one of the top 5 young players in world football right now. What he brings to the game, he has a maturity levels that is beyond, of course, the age that he currently carries. But more importantly, what he brings to Bayern Munich, he makes them tick, he breaks lines, he scores goals, as you just mentioned. He's in the mold of I guess I want to say a Frank Lampard type of midfielder that gets into the box and make things happen, but he creates as well. And I think that's one of his strong points. But more importantly, he makes Bayern Munich tick. He has a bit of skill, a bit of trickery, and he is a player to watch, definitely, despite his age.
Eric, he also likes to play on the left-hand side of a two behind the striker. He has been so impressive in that position as one of the number 10s for this team. Do you expect him to play in that similar role today?
I expect him, I mean, he's starting more from out wide, but I think he's very good in recognizing the space and when to go into the space, and even his decision-making. When do I dribble, when do I pass, and how do I gauge that decision-making process. So I expect him to still see out some wide. Sometimes it was just so he has some 1v1 moves that he can do and bring it down the line and cross it, but I also expect him in the middle of the park and watch Müller kind of go out of that position to create some time for Musiala to create things from that middle area.
All right, we're going to transition to Paris Saint-Germain now. And Brent, talk to me about Kylian Mbappe, because he's still on a high. He's now the all-time scorer for PSG with 201 goals after overtaking Edinson Cavani. This kid is just brilliant, brilliant.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. Certainly one of the players that we would expect to take the mantle from that man there in the picture, Messi and Ronaldo, when they do retire from the sport. And he's the X factor today. He played roughly about 30 minutes in the first leg. He's expected to play the full 90 barring any injuries in this leg. And I really believe it comes down to him. I mean, if you ask me now who would win between the two teams, I couldn't tell you. But I could tell you, if he has a big game, it'll be lights out for Bayern Munich.
And another player, well, he's obviously going to be missing today. We're talking about Neymar. I'm going to bring you into discussion. His season is over. He has to undergo surgery on his ankle, so he's going to be out for about 3 to 4 months. There has been a lot of speculation about him being injured around this time, but we have to note that it's the PSG medical staff that has recommended him doing surgery and for him to finish off the season. What are your thoughts on not only him missing this afternoon, but the fact that he misses a lot of the big games during this period for PSG?
Well, you know what? The knock is, and of course, being able to have this discussion, in part is his fault. In part. Obviously, the getting injured part is the unfortunate end of it, because he does end up getting knocked. He does end up suffering fractures and strains and tears and things of that nature. So that is part of the game. But a lot of times the narrative has always been, oh, Neymar gets hurt around this time because he wants to be around his sister. Sister's birthday's in a couple of days. So when you start
and Carnival as well, right?
Your career, that ends up being something that, you know, it's going to carry through your entire legacy. But again, when the injuries are real, it's not that he's making this up. It's not that the PSG medical staff is making things up for him. It's just quite unfortunate, and it's always been part of the reason why he hasn't been able to really get to that upper echelon where many expected him to be when he was 16, 17 years of age coming out of Santos.
And Juan, was that an unfair expectation for him to reach those heights?
I mean, you know what? I don't know. I mean, many were expecting him to do that, but then again, when you saw his talent, you knew what he could be able to do. And let's not deny it, he has the talent to be able to get to that point. Unfortunately, he's made decisions that have been within his control that haven't been the best ones for his career. That's his choice, that's his life. But at the end of the day, the injuries, going back to that, are the ones that have been, it was in Marca the other day, they said it was 710 days that Neymar's missed due to injury throughout the European portion of his career.
That's a lot of games. And of course, Eric, with all the money that's been spent on PSG, the question is, this has to be the year that they get it right, because we're not even sure if Messi is going to be around next season for them to get that push or have that push for the biggest prize that they're looking for in recent time, the Champions League trophy.
Yeah, I mean, not just Messi, you know, Mbappe is every
as
year
well,
a question
exactly.
as well. And now even Neymar say, what is he going to do after this? But I think every year is the same for PSG. They have built up so much pressure and have been putting in so much resources into this project that for the last 3 or 4 years, it's like this has to be the year. It's a difficult competition to win, but it was great to point out earlier, when you look at PSG over the last 2 games, when Neymar has been out, it actually looked like it's more balanced. With Messi and Mbappe up top to get a little bit more freedom, because there's now 5 men behind them trying to work on the organizational structure. It looks like they found a better form and a better balance within the team to really allow their star players to excel. So Mbappe and Messi have been scoring, have been giving assists over these last few games. So I think they're in a much better position than they were 3 weeks ago to actually continue on their mission to win the Champions League.
Brent, I have to put this to you, and I'm talking about the dynamic between two of the world's best players here on the same team. Lionel Messi, of course, would have won the World Cup in the summer. Kylian Mbappe would have scored a hat-trick in the final, but obviously lost to Messi in that final. Do you think that Mbappe would be more motivated to win this Champions League as opposed to Messi, who now has won everything?
No, I think Messi's always has been motivated to do well every single time he plays. He's won big trophies consecutively throughout his career, and I think he wants to win here at PSG. There's no doubt about it. But I think Eric hit the nail on the head. The PSG, the problem they have is balance. They have arguably three of the best players in world football in Neymar, Mbappe, and Messi, but they just can't find the balance defensively. And football is a two-sided sport. You have to be able to do well in defense, and that's been PSG's problem. Now with Neymar's not playing, this may give them the opportunity to be a balanced team. And I think if they do show that type of balance and be very good and concentrated in their approach, the likes of Mbappe and Messi can then express themselves and may give them and turn the tide towards, of course, PSG.
Juan, we're going to take a look at the starting lineups in just a little while, but I'd like to know your thoughts on the type of game that you are expecting, especially with PSG behind and they're heading to the Allianz Arena.
It's a game where obviously the onus is on PSG. They have to dictate the pace of the game. They know exactly what they have to do. It'll be a lot of, we talk a lot about Messi and Mbappe and everything else, but we forget to talk about Nuno Mendes and Hakimi out wide, and how Hakimi's coming into this match with everything that's going on around him extracurricularly. That's another factor to be talking about. But again, a lot of it depends on how much amplitude this PSG side can create against Bayern. So Hakimi going up against Musiala as well as Alphonso Davies on one side. You see Nuno Mendes going up against Kingsley Coman and Stanisic on the other. See who's going to end up succumbing to the other. That's going to be probably one of the main storylines to be looking at throughout this match. Of course, everything else that comes out of that, it ends up making it that much more spicier, that much more juicier over time. But right now, to me, that's one of the big factors for PSG.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at the starting lineups now, starting with Bayern Munich. They're going to go with a 4-2-3-1 formation, and we're talking about the formation of the youngster Musiala and where he's expected to play in this one, Eric. What do you make of this starting lineup?
I think it's, as I say, it's been somewhat consistent for the last few matches for Bayern, with Kimmich and Goretzka really trying to hold that midfield, and then when you have Müller, Musiala, Coman, there's going to be a lot of movement, so they are not going to be in those positions. You're going to see Kimmich and Goretzka more holding that midfield, but I expect movement, especially for Musiala, and roaming throughout the field.
Yeah, Stanisic, of course, will be playing in the right-back position instead of one Benjamin Pavard, who, of course, as we mentioned before, has been suspended from this game. But a lot of stars in this one that can make a name for themselves in this game. Brent, Sancho, we're going to transition to the starting lineup for Paris Saint-Germain now, and they are going to be going with a back three with 5 in the middle of the park.
Yeah, I'm not surprised necessarily in their approach to this one. They certainly identify the midfield battle as the key to winning a football game, hence the reason they're trying to look for overloads in that area. I expect them to not necessarily play a high press or to try to press Bayern Munich higher up the park. I think they're going to rely heavily on playing in transition. When you got someone with the vision that Messi has, and obviously the pace and power that Mbappe has, I think that's the right move. I'm not surprised with the starting lineup. I'm not surprised with the tactical approach. And I think it's going to give PSG every opportunity to get a good result in this one.
And Juan, do you think that Messi is going to be playing slightly behind Mbappe in this one?
Yeah, he'll probably be. You can see them alternating to a certain extent, because you'll see when Messi's up top, you'll see Mbappe dropping back and wide a little bit to have some space to make his runs. Alternatively, you can also see Messi dropping back and looking to connect with Vitinha, with Verratti, and the midfield, especially in the middle. So it'll be interesting to see how they begin to alternate positions, how they begin to move around and scurry around to be able to find pockets of space in front of that Bayern defense.
Well, it's time for predictions once again. Starting with Eric, what are your thoughts? How do you think this is going to turn out?
This is a difficult one, and just when I start thinking Mbappe and Messi, Can they not score? I doubt it. Will they only score one? I'm not sure, but I'm going to give it to Bayern, and I think it's going to be a 2-1 to Bayern.
Wow. Brent.
Well,
Yes.
Pressure is on.
Yeah.
this is a tough one, but I must admit I am leaning towards PSG. I think Mbappe playing 90 minutes is a big difference, and having a couple of games under his belt before. So I'm going with a 2-1 to PSG.
And Juan?
Look, when you have one thing that we've learned is that this version of Leo Messi and this version of Mbappe, if you start trash talking about them before the game, that ends up being a very poisonous situation for the opposition. Could it be again? We'll see. I tend to agree with Brent. It'll be a 3-2, 1-0, somewhere along those lines.
Yeah, I actually think it's going to be 3-2 to Bayern Munich at the Allianz Arena, so we're looking forward to that one. I was right yesterday in terms of the scoreline with the Club Brugge and Benfica, with Benfica coming out with a 5-1 thrashing. But we got to go. We got to join our feed now at the Allianz Arena. It's a big match, massive match on the way in a few minutes' time there as Bayern Munich, they host Paris Saint-Germain.